Hello and welcome to Cracking the Rich Code, the podcast. I'm your host, John Verico. And on this show, we get to meet some of the amazing authors that are featured throughout this Cracking the Rich Code international best-selling book series. Probably one of the best things that's out there if you want to learn how to enrich your life. It's not just for people who are financially rich. It's for people who are rich in life. And I am super delighted about today's guest. She is a speaker coach. She is the founder of Speakers on Fire Academy, and she is also a trainer in the art of presence. The super dynamic, I'm so excited to bring her on, the super dynamic Marla Press. Marla, welcome.
Hey, John, I am so excited to be here with you. You know, we're like twins. We're not identical twins, but we're like twins. You live where I grew up for 18 years, and we both have the theme of fire. My company, Speakers on Fire Academy, you share the fire, and we both teach people to be better communicators. So, it's like we're twins.
I know. And you know, how come you're the better looking twin, darn it? I don't know. Hey,
I don't know about that,
but I am super excited. You know, from the day we actually first encountered each other, I felt exactly the same way. I'm like, Speakers on Fire, share your fire. We have so much in common.
Yes.
And this is it's such a wonderful opportunity to be able to have you on the Cracking the Rich Code podcast. And we were in the series together. Now you are in volume 16, correct?
Sweet 16.
I love it. I love it. So first of all, before we get into what you wrote about, kind of tell us a little bit. I mean, there are folks out there who don't know who Marla Press is yet, and they should. So tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah. So it was, as I said in the book, it was zigzag, zigzag, up, down, up, down. It was not a direct line. And
Never
it
is.
took me way too long, I have to say. One of my biggest messages, don't wait. Just don't wait. But yeah, I mean, I started out and I'm just fascinated by psychology and behavior. So my first degree was in psychology, and I did become a life coach, but I also did a lot of serious therapy for people. I cured phobias. I worked on eating disorders and sexual abuse and all kinds of things. And that was, I studied a lot of alternative psychology, and I developed my own ways of helping people. It wasn't talk therapy. I don't believe in just talking about things, even though to some degree that's helpful. But I developed a lot of experiential exercises. I studied NLP and energy work and put that all together. And now I bring that into my speaker coaching because, as a speaker, a lot of stuff comes up, right?
Oh, so much.
Oh my gosh, imposter syndrome and self-doubt and limiting beliefs. And so that background.
I want you to explain a little bit about neurolinguistics too, because you mentioned NLP and there are some people who might not know what that is.
Yeah, NLP is really interesting. And a couple of the people that were really big in NLP were in my hometown in Boulder, Colorado. And they, so I took a lot of courses from them, but it's partly studying people that are successful and finding patterns and using images to rewire your brain. It's really, really fascinating. It studies the art of rapport and energy and changing people, transforming people really quickly. It talks about anchors and patterns. So there's really a lot to it, but it's really, change your brain, change your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, we have mindsets that we've created for ourselves. And most of it is unfortunately based on what people have told us about ourselves. Those voices in our head aren't our voices, for crying out loud. They're your mom, your dad, or a teacher, or the bullies, or whoever it was. that made you believe about yourself what you believe. And I love, we're, like I said, on the same page, helping people to overcome those challenges. So continue. I didn't mean to throw you off on the
No,
neurolinguistics.
that's so true. A lot of people, have maybe even heard of NLP, but really don't know what it is. And it's a lot of things. And, Tony Robbins endorsed our book. Tony Robbins uses NLP, and he's used it for the military, for business, for people's personal growth. So it's very, very valuable. Now, do I think it's everything? No, but it's a part of what I use to help people. But the experiential part is the big part. And I learned that through studying the art of presence. And that started out being the art of feminine presence. And then we started, including men, and it was the art of feminine presence and the art of masculine presence. I just call it the art of presence because it's mostly the same for men and women. There's a few differences, but
My wife says I'm in touch with my feminine side anyway, so it doesn't matter which.
Well, it's funny because I used to be very masculine, and so I grew up. I was a tomboy and was just very masculine in a lot of ways. I still am, in touch with my masculine side.
Oh, I was the pipsqueak in school, so I bet you could take me.
Oh my gosh! Well, we would have been friends in school anyway. I know that. But yeah, so I bring, the experiential exercises, like I said, even when I was helping people with therapy, and I created dance movement and dance therapy, and I didn't create the whole thing of dance therapy, but just specific types of dance therapy that helped in movement.
I was a disco dance instructor, right?
Get out. Get out of here. Really? Oh my God. I have to see video.
Well, I say fortunately, videos weren't used very much back in the 70s when I was doing this stuff. So there's not very much out there.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was in a dance company growing up. I won awards for my choreography. So I was into modern dance. I did a little disco in my day. I did a little disco. So there was that too. But I love creative modern dance. I love creating. So I won awards for my choreography because it was incredibly creative, even my solo choreography. So it's really, really a part of who I am. And I bring that into, because as a speaker, you need to be able to own that stage, even if it's a Zoom room, but certainly if it's an in-person stage, you have to always own your space, and you have to understand body language. And so that, I think that my bringing up of being in dance and then doing dance therapy for some people has really helped me as a speaker coach too.
That's you're absolutely amazing. And now I know where your energy level comes from. You've always impressed me with just this super amount of positive energy that you exude. So, and I hope people are getting that out of this podcast and are able to capture some of that. You have had such an incredible life journey, and with the stuff with the dancing, and so how did you gravitate towards what you're doing now?
Yeah. So, growing up, also, I love to write. So I would write speeches, and like in class, if confirmation class, in different situations, I was a delegate for certain things, and I like pick me, and everybody else was don't pick me. And so I just
I was the latter.
Yeah, but it's funny because I was very, very shy in general, and
Can't see it.
I am an introvert, but put me on a stage, because I started at such a young age being on stages. I started at age 9 learning international folk dance and modern dance and being in plays. And that was a huge part of it. It was the biggest joy of my life, both in my community and in summer. I went to summer camp. That was a big focus. So I was really used to being on stages, so it was dancing, it was being in plays, and it was speaking. And when I was, I was a practice management consultant for medical doctors around the country. So I traveled around, and that's how I would promote my services, was through speaking at dental associations and other associations. And what I found was I was a great performer. I had great content, but I wasn't getting as many clients as I could have because I didn't have, probably not even the intention, and definitely not the skill of connecting. And it took me till I discovered that art of presence, till I realized you have to balance that entertainment and performance with authenticity and connection.
Right.
So that's a big part of what I teach people now, because some people are really warm-hearted and got the connection down, but they don't have enough of the entertainment factor to grab and keep attention as much as they need to stand out from the crowd. Then there's other people that, like I used to be, that are in the performance, and and sometimes they come off as great speakers with lots of charisma, but they're getting exhausted themselves, or they're not getting enough clients or enough inspiring people to take action, because they're just a little too projecting onto the audience, talking at the audience, and not connecting with the audience.
So what advice could you give? I mean, obviously you want to charge people and get them as your clients, but but seriously, what kind of advice can you give for people who are trying to make this transition to become more powerful and to make those better connections? What are just a couple of high level tips you can throw out there?
One tip is to have the intention of two-way communication. So right now, yes, we're having a great conversation, John, but I'm also aware that there's people listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I picture them, I imagine them, I feel their energy. I'm speaking to you out there. It's, a lot of people don't do that. If they can't see the audience, they just think of themselves as talking to a camera. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as my message is going out there in the universe, and there's a two-way communication is always two-way.
Two ways, yes.
And if you're in person or you're on Zoom and you're live with people, even if they're not talking back to you right then, you still want to have this conversation, be conversational, involve them as many ways as you can. And I put, I think, 10 ways in the book how to engage your audience. And part of that is through your own presence. It's from speaking from here, instead of just speaking at the audience and trying to teach them something and just having big energy. It's really involving and engaging the audience through your own presence. Right. And then lots of other fun stuff. How else do a lot of people these days, oh my gosh, it even drives me crazy sometimes, where the only engagement is put me in the chat, put a 1 in the chat, and you're constantly telling people to put something in the chat. And yeah, that's better than nothing, but it's not that engaging. Or raise your hand if, and people are just like doing this up, a million times. That's old school. That was the best way to engage people, 10 years ago, 5 years ago even. But now, it's like, give me a thumbs up, or, stand up if you want to stand out. Feel what that feels like in your body. So I do, I get people to move. I get people to do an activity. I get people to shout things at me. There's all kinds of ways you engage people through technology. So there's like, let's say we're talking about money, right? So I say, hey, I'm going to take you to Las Vegas right now, baby. Let's go.
There we go.
So, and you see that slow movement in the screen.
I don't go to Vegas very often. I make too many donations that way.
That was a bad example.
I'm kidding. I'm joking, because if you're thinking stage and performance and high energy crowds, you think of that environment.
Yeah, but the point is that instead of, especially if you're on Zoom, that's what there's Zoom fatigue, because it's just talking heads. For one thing, people tend to be a talking head, and we don't see your hands very much. And you don't want, like a lot of that. You want
No.
congruent body language. But
And I've had to balance that because I'm Italian. I talk with my hands, and so people found like they thought they were getting smacked in the face because they kept doing this. It's like some of us have to control that.
there is a balance. But too much is better than none. And most people
So
do
true.
none. They're just literally a talking
Just the
head.
head. Yes.
And, but when you change up your background, and it's not just the virtual background, but it's, how can you, use a video in your background, use different scenes to create interest, to involve more than just, our hearing and looking at you. And when you're on stage, if you're going to use slides, oh my gosh, people are so bad at using slides. There's too many words. They're terrible images. They're not engaging. They're not getting people to think. They're just getting people to read. And then they're confused. Do I look over here? Do I look at you? Do I look at the slide? So there's an
or worse yet, they're reading off the slide, so they're not even looking at the audience. Marla, I spent 42 years working with primarily scientists, engineers, and cops. Don't let them do PowerPoint presentations.
I bet. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I was a prison guard, so I have that connection. But
here we go again with more little details about your amazing background. What haven't you done?
I don't think that was in the book. Yeah, really. What haven't I done? It was my first job out of college with my psychology degree, and they told me I was going to be an assistant to the prison psychologist. So I thought, oh, I'm going to change the world. This is going to be great. After the interview, they said, well, really, we need you to be a correctional officer, and it's an all-male adult federal prison. Like, okay. It was very dangerous.
No pressure, no challenge. There you go.
It was very dangerous. I did it for 1 year and said, okay, I think that's enough. But very fascinating. Yeah. So
but what a marvelous learning experience.
Yes, it was. Yeah. From a psychology viewpoint. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. If you want to have personal and professional growth, put yourself in uncomfortable situations like that. Don't say no to challenges. I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just one of the things I've done, but I have done a lot. Like I said, there's a real zigzag, and and there was the consulting and the therapy, and I taught just the art of presence, and so many things. That makes life interesting.
It makes life interesting. That's right. And the more we do, the more we experience. The more full our life is, the more enriched our life is, and why we fit into cracking the rich code. And so for those of you who are just tuning in, you're listening to the Cracking the Rich Code podcast with my special guest, Marla Press, who is the founder of Speakers on Fire Academy and a public speaking coach and a trainer in the art of presence. So Marla, you wrote most recently in the volume 16 of Cracking the Rich Code. Tell me a little bit about what your chapter is about, because I don't have a copy of that one yet.
Okay.
Notice I said yet.
So there's that cover, and I usually wear red, but I thought the pink went really good on this cover. So I started off talking about my life journey and that it was a zigzag, and, made some bad decisions, and, I didn't have the confidence because of, perhaps because of some abuse that I suffered, or perhaps because of who knows what, being an introvert. I had confidence in ways. I mean, I was a leader in many ways, but at the same time, there was always something that was holding me back. And, I was extremely smart. I graduated high school early. I could have graduated even more than a year early. I was just so bored and couldn't wait to go to college. And I love learning. And, at one point, I applied to dental hygiene school thinking, well, it'll be, I'll just do that temporarily. And they said, you scored higher than all the dental students. Please join us in the dental school. And I went, no, thanks. I'm just doing this for a little bit. I really want to be a writer or a choreographer. So I mean, crazy, right? So that's how I then got into practice management consulting for dentists. And we worked a little bit with chiropractors and some other types of doctors. So I talk about, don't wait, because I waited and waited to do my true passions. And also just, do what you love and the money will follow isn't quite true. You have to do the hard work. And that's what I really want to give as part of my message is, yes, do what you're passionate about. Don't wait, and do the hard work to get to your goals. And, not everybody has the same goals. Not everybody wants to be a multimillionaire. Not everybody wants to be a millionaire. And as you said, there's so many riches in life. And I just feel so blessed with, my life is fun and exciting. And I'm surrounded by wonderful people, and I meet new people all the time. And I get to travel and speak around the country and sometimes internationally. And I just love what I do. I love, love, love what I do. I love helping people become better speakers because it helps them in their personal life so much, let alone in their professional business.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, right? It's about having a fulfilling, joyful career and not just a career. And my book talks about not only my journey, but then it goes into how to engage your audience. And I spell it out exactly all these different ways you can engage your audience. So you definitely want to get a copy and read about it, because it will help you so much. Some of them are going to be things, maybe you've already thought of, but I assure you there's going to be some new ideas in there. And also, like I say in the book, some of it you have to experience. It's those experiential exercises. So I can tell you, hey, have more presence. It's going to make a big difference. But you really have to experience how to get out of that head energy and into your full body energy. And I make it practical. It's not so woo-woo that some people are going to say, it's not for me. It's really for everybody because of the way that I show you how to do it. But it does take working with me to experience that.
Well, you have such great energy that when people are around you, they cannot help but be infected by it. And I mean that in a good way, because you have an infectious, positive, high energy aura about you that nobody could be in a bad mood around you. I mean, that's what I get, and nobody can feel like they are. I mean, I can understand people trying to compare themselves to you and then saying, "Oh man, I'm such a slacker in comparison," but quickly you can assure them, that they are the best them, and they can be even better in their own self.
I appreciate that so much. So thank you for saying that. And here's the thing. You don't have to be high energy. Like that's my nature. Yeah, I've always been, I've been depressed at times too. So it's not that I've only been this way, but these days in my old age, I I am, some people say I'm overly positive. I always think, what, we don't know what the future is going to bring. So why not think positive? That doesn't mean you don't want to be prepared and you don't want to be informed, but why not think it's going to work out? Why not have that as your goal, whether you're thinking about, politics or your health or your personal life or your career? It's really important to keep that feeling, but you don't have to be high energy. What I tell people, when you have presence, you can mesmerize people with the quality of your energy and bring people in magnetically. It's not about yelling at people or having super high energy all the time. And when I speak, I usually vary. So at times I'm really high. At times, I'm more really focused and quieter. And first of all, that variation keeps attention.
Right.
Second of
Absolutely.
all, I want to demonstrate that some of the times you don't want to be up here. You don't want to be monotone and you don't want to be boring for sure. but you can bring people in. In fact, when you pause, when you have silence, when you're quiet, people lean in and they're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
What's going to
Yes.
happen next? What's she going to say next? Yeah.
And you know what it all comes down to is, and maybe I was wrong when I said high energy, is it's authentic energy,
Mm,
right? You got to be true to who you are and what you are. And when people, like, if you come at somebody with high energy and you're not normally a high energy person, you don't come across as real, and
right.
people will not want to connect with you. And
Yes.
you've heard me say this before, but people don't do business with businesses. They do business with people.
Yes.
People want to be around people. They don't want to be around corporations or AI robots and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's the human to human connection that makes life worthwhile. And you are just a great champion for
Mm.
creating that human connection, whether you're doing it from the stage or you're doing it one on one.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And that's so true. It's like I've heard other speaker coaches say, well, be more like Tony Robbins, or, have that be your role model. And yeah, there's some things we can learn from Tony Robbins. There is no doubt about that. But not everybody is a Tony Robbins. And so I help people find your balance of that, what we talked about, the connection factor, where you build trust and credibility and connection, and the performance, where you entertain and keep attention. And that balance is not 50-50. It's different for everybody, but you do have
And
to
every
have both.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're in, an in-person networking group versus you're on a stage with hundreds of people, it's going to be different energy. And if you're online, it's going to be different. But, to some degree, it is the same too. Yeah.
Marla, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on a copy of Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 16, and reading your chapter. And I want to thank you for sharing your time here. Folks, you've been listening to the incredible Marla Press, the founder of Speakers on Fire Academy. She is a public speaking coach and a trainer in the art of presence. And Marla, this has been great. And those of you who want to get in touch with Marla, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so it's at the bottom of the screen there. You'll see it ticking on by, and just set up a chat. And in that chat, I can help you with the presence exercise we talked about. We can work. I have a hot or not. I do a lot with fire, ignite your business, fire up your audience. So a hot or not speaker eval, where you can bring any part of your story, your offer, your opening or closing, and we will make it sizzling hot. So you will attract clients immediately just from tweaking this. Or we can work on your presence and your energy, because that's another big part of what I help people with. So set up a chat, super easy, speakwithmarla.com.
I absolutely love it. And I love the fact that you use fire. Mine is share your fire. So one of the attention grabbers that I do is I sometimes will do, magic in my shows.
I
Uh,
love that. I love it. Yeah. It's funny because one of the dance performances that I won an award for was I used the musical from Pippin, the music from Pippin, is the song that's called Magic. And I
yes.
was like taking things out of my leotards and my, like throwing things around that, came out of nowhere. And I love it. Yeah. I'm telling you, we're twins. We're twins.
We absolutely are. And, I just jokingly, I just quickly tell you, when the night I met the woman who was ultimately to become my wife, uh, I used magic.
Mm.
I was dressed as a clown and I had a 25-foot scarf in the lining of my jacket. And, so you were talking about pulling things out and stuff.
I
Yeah,
was pulling scarves out, the exact same
exactly.
thing. Oh
Exactly.
my gosh, this is crazy. I knew we were twins, but it's like we've had parallel lives.
So much fun. Marla, thank you again. Marla Press, founder of Speakers on Fire Academy and a speaking coach and a trainer for the art of presence. You have been an absolute delight. Thank you so much for being on the Cracking the Rich Code podcast and for your chapter in volume 16 of Cracking the Rich Code. I look forward to getting it. Any final words that you want before we depart?
Yeah, I mean, I think money is on people's mind a lot these days. And just come